No, 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 no,
Hey,
no,
how,
no. Nope, you fucked up. Yep, you
okay,
fucked up.
okay.
Yep, I can
So
tell what you just did.
it,
You fucked up. Welcome back to Lazy Leverage. It is now, I guess, part 3 with my buddy Neil. Kemcho, Neil.
Majama, bas majama, which means I'm
Basmajama.
happy in Gujarati.
Okay, good.
There we
But
go.
you are joining like a good Gujarati from Africa. Do you own a grocery store yet? Or a trading house?
Not yet, but literally down the street from, I can literally see it says Patel Grocers. So
Are you the
we're close,
Patel,
man.
So for people who don't know, Patel is a very Gujarati name. I was going to say, are you the 4th wealthiest man in Rwanda yet?
So you're lucky they can't hear you, man. You're lucky I have my headphones on here.
I mean, am I wrong? I mean, am I wrong?
Not exactly.
Gujaratis are a very sharp commercial culture, which is always
100%.
historically my experience.
And it's a big thing in East Africa too, because like a lot of Indians came over here and kind of took over a lot of the businesses, and still Indians run a lot of the businesses here. So
same
this
in
is
the
weird
Gulf.
thing. Yeah,
You know, a lot of the upper middle class in the Gulf is South Asian, is Indian, and a lot of that is Gujarati. Just because they just like come and they just work 7 days a week and just hammer.
dude. That's why I like never compete against a pure first generation immigrant when it comes to like just hustle. You're not going to outwork them. It's not possible. It's not going to happen.
You're going to have to find another way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth.
Yep.
I mean, it reminds me, we used to play rugby in the Gulf. U.S. Navy ships would come in, and we'd play rugby with them. And it would always be all these like 21, 22-year-old Marines who are like jacked, definitely in shape. They were like the Gujaratis of business, and just like they'd been on a ship for 2 months, like just working out. But the way you beat them was they didn't know how to play rugby. So they were just like big moo-moos. And so you'd kick and you'd use technique. But if you tried to just go like force on force, you were just going to get like Hulk slammed by like an infantry Marine.
Yep.
You just couldn't do it. You couldn't go force, like, do not outwork a Gujarati. You have to try something else. Like, it will not work.
Beat them on the action game, beat them on like something else.
Made in America, I don't know, throw everything at them.
Yeah.
As much as you can at him.
Just don't try to outwork him. It's not worth it. Not worth it.
He's going to be, I forgot who it was. It was like, I remember, who was it? I forgot what his name is, but he's a Gujarati in Iowa who took a couple independent flags.
Yeah, Pratesh,
Pratesh. But he was talking about how he had to hide from his mom that he bought QuickBooks for like $99 a month because she's like, you lazy piece of shit. You can do that by hand.
I'm not surprised at all.
And he's like, he had to hide it. He had to hide that he got QuickBooks for a couple $1 million.
Yeah. It's insane, man. My dad had video rental stores growing up. Had him for 32 years, worked 7 days a week. Did not take a vacation at all, just straight up did it. 32 years. And like, he passed a couple years ago, but his final note, I was like, are you happy with everything? He's like, I beat Blockbuster. That was his final, like, I beat him. I outworked him.
And that's the American, I mean, to me, that's the American dream, man. I mean, it truly is the American dream. I remember talking to this. I've written about this before, but like, one of my favorite parts about America is that immigration is a one-generation issue where it's not Neil the Indian dude, it's Neil the American, but your dad was, oh, I'm American Indian, or I'm Indian American or whatever. But in one generation, oh yeah, I don't know, you've got like a different last name, but fucking you're American.
I was thinking about this a lot, especially being in Rwanda, me going to like India and stuff. If you look at you trying to jump what's classes, it's a multiple generation thing. It does not happen in one generation. It doesn't. It's hard, right? Like in India, for example, if you try to do it, you don't have access to loans. The business environment's way too competitive. It's really freaking hard to jump classes. But in America, you could jump classes in one generation, even less. In the same generation, you could jump classes.
Like a boat person coming over from Cuba to a senator, and nobody would look twice. Be like,
no, not at all.
But in France, which is a great country and has all the challenges, but like you're a Moroccan dude forever. You're not French. You never become French. You're a Moroccan dude. Doesn't matter if you've been there 100 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, I love, dude, I'm the fucking most bullish immigration dude ever. Like, I will fight anybody about this.
It's funny this whole H-1B talk, which was like from like whatever a couple weeks ago. You're like, guys, I don't know if you know who pays all the taxes. It's like
It's the hard part. I think the hard part is like no one is claiming that immigration doesn't need reform, but like nobody is saying like, oh yeah, dude, some visa mill that abuses yeah, dude, like I'm not defending that, but I want to just like zoom out past like a micro incident and let's talk a little bit more macro about the demographics of the US and how we need more working people to support our aging base and how the average immigrant is blah 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 and like, but yeah, but this guy stole no, no, like, no, like, and so that's oftentimes where I find it hard to engage, particularly like on Twitter, where it's not a sophisticated discussion. It's just like yeah, but like I know this one Indian guy who got an H-1B, and you're just like, and then he killed someone, and you're like, yeah, dude, like they're people too, like
yeah,
like
things happen.
Like no ability to like see past like a micro factor, not a micro factor, but like to the tactical.
Yeah, and kind of going in the full circle, which is like the work ethic. Do you want people to come here and like work the farming jobs or not? Because the guys you don't want in, they're the ones who are going to work 7 days a week for 10 hours a day. Like it's just kind of
dirty, dull, and dangerous is always the way. Those are the types of jobs that immigrants take. Dirty, dull, and dangerous.
I like that.
I read that somewhere, but yeah, man, I would love to talk to anybody about immigration. I am a patriotic American, and I think immigration is the best fucking thing ever. So,
speaking of which, like you said, the only way to beat immigrant is to do something which is not work related, not worth it really, which is kind of like GTD. That's kind of what we're talking about.
To outsmart them.
Yeah, how do you outsmart them? GTD, baby.
To catch everybody up, and it was very surprising to me, so much so, and I'm going to tell you something that we're working on with Fagan. But the amount of feedback I got from our conversations was like really interesting. Like part 1 and part 2, just people being like, yeah, I tried to read GTD and it's kind of like old school, but hearing how it's actually used makes me want to like re-examine it or whatever. I was like, really? It's a couple dozen messages like that.
No way. All right, very cool.
I know. I had no idea. I was like, I don't know. So much so that, we're looking at what we're going to do at Sagan for continuing education. And we have some ideas, and we're basically going to switch from what I would call classes to courses, which are kind of like learning paths that are multi grouped, like lanes, like learning tracks. And one of them we're going to do is organization, because it is something that everybody wants to send everybody on their team on forever.
Yep.
Like,
correct.
Just every single person you ever hire, your old employees, your new employees, every single person should go through a 12-week introduction to staying organized in a remote environment. And that's actually one of our learning tracks that we're going to do.
Yep. I like that a lot. And I think a lot of it's prioritization of what tasks you're going to do. Like, I'm not saying every remote team member needs to implement GTD. Like, sure, if they do, that's great. But, for some people. John's saying, yeah, I don't think it's possible, but like maybe it is, right? But I think there's elements of it which everyone on a remote team can use in terms of like, how do you manage what you're going to work on? I think that's a big part about it.
When I gave a talk about this a couple of weeks ago, what I said was, if you take out of this lecture one tool, it's a win. It is not an all or nothing system. So literally, if all you take out of this conversation is write things down and put them in a place to check them, and put things that you don't want to forget into a someday maybe list and review that list regularly. If that's all you do, you're like, dude, you are a X% more efficient now. And then, maybe at a different point in your life and something breaks, you re-examine the materials and you're like, I picked something else up. Like, it is it's like studying chess. Like, what's the word? Like an asymptote. It's a line that approaches but never touches. Right? I think that I might have made that up.
I don't remember 10th grade math, John, like something like that.
I think it's whatever the word is of a line that approaches but never touches. And to me, personal organization is that, which is, dude, I read Getting Things Done. I'm like, dude, I don't do anything in this chapter. Fuck. Like, I don't like have it wired. Like, I'm a little sloppy with my weekly review. Fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, So I think as people re-examine this is kind of like part 3. Don't feel like it's all or nothing. Kind of absorb what's useful and discard what's not. And then when you run into a blocker, re-examine the materials, and you're like, oh, okay, I got promoted. I have direct reports now. I need to get better about my waiting for list.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think there's some things I have questions on, as well as things I could share with the audience of things I liked and didn't like.
Yeah.
The one thing, which is already a takeaway from the last couple parts, which has been insanely helpful, is anything which comes to mind, I just put it in the notes. Unorganized, drop it in there.
That is usually the first thing that hits people when I like look at the journey. It's like capture. It's like capture.
That's it.
Now
Yeah.
I can also I'll bet you $50
Mm-hmm.
that you are not consistently doing a good weekly review.
That's on my list to talk about today
Correct.
with you. So yes,
Because
100%.
like the fall offs are pretty common where it's like,
yeah.
the project list and how it really but capture is usually good. File is usually fine. You probably don't exactly like the way I told you to use your calendar. Like I could guess the things where you're going to kind of like fall short and not fall short. Just based on experience, man.
Yep. So
yeah.
With that limit, like I guess I'll share the part which helped is whatever note you mentioned about your brains for processing information. It's not for remembering information. Stuck with me.
It's for having ideas, not keeping ideas. That is pure
Boom.
David Allen.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And the other part is like, have you seen Memento? The movie Memento?
I've heard it. It's like living your life backwards or something, or is that a different one?
No, it's a Christopher Nolan movie. I think it's Christopher Nolan, whatever. The guy pretty much, he has such goldfish memory, and like he has a problem where everything he has to remember, he has the tattoo on his body. So when he wakes up and he doesn't remember everything, he has a system. His system's tattooing stuff on his body. Like the whole time for the last couple weeks, I kept thinking like, I am Memento Man. Like I don't need to know anything in my brain. I just throw it in my phone because I can't remember anything. The truth is like, my memory's not that great. So putting in the phone has been extremely helpful for me.
I've had a lot of head injuries. Like I don't know my wife's cell phone number. I don't, because I'm like, I have like very precious space. And I mean, that's probably one I should memorize, but I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't know my
maybe.
wife's cell phone number.
I guess you don't need to. You got a system for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the purpose of this, you wanted to get back on. We're doing a little check-in. We're going to say maybe how it's felt, maybe some questions, whatever. Again, when we're talking, just as a preamble, Neil, I'm going to tell you, it's going to come across like I'm selling you.
Okay.
But what just because I'm enthusiastic and I'm like, oh, that's not how to do that, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, you make this system your own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to react if you're like, something's still not working. Meaning, if you want a time block, feel free. But then if you come back to me and you're like, oh, I don't know how to keep track of my schedule or whatever, I'm gonna be like, it's because you're time blocking, dude. So what I mean is, if you've hit a point where you are now organized enough that you're not laying in bed going, I got to get more organized, then ignore everything else I say. If nothing else, there is no extra points for doing it by the book.
Make it your own is kind of what you're saying, as long as you hit a lot of the key points.
And as long as you're not still sitting there at night going, I sure hope I called Bob. But if you're just like, I still have shit on my brain, I'm still not fully present because I'm thinking about uncompleted tasks or things I delegated, then I'm going to be like, brother, you're still in pain. Let me give you more medicine.
So there's parts of that which I do want to talk about, which I just have like a list of questions called GTD questions, and I'm going to go through different scenarios over here. Now, all right, I'm going to pull it up, John. So first of all, parts which are good, I organize everything in Apple Notes. For me, that's been way better than Notion. I like keeping my actual project list on Notion because I like the visual parts of it, whatever. Like that works for me. Parts which are, so I note everything, and then on the weekly review, everything which is in the notes, I will process it. Right? Process is like delete it, organize it, store it, whatever. So there are some example situations, John, I want to run by you, which I'm like, how would John handle this situation? So I'm going to run through this. For example, a friend sends content in a group chat, and he's like, hey, check out this. And I'm like, cool, this seems like something to check out, but I don't want to check it out right now. John, where are you storing that, and how do you remember to check this out in the future?
I got that in a group chat. What I would typically do, the first thing I would do is I would probably screenshot it and save it as a new note. So just quick capture.
As a new note. Okay, cool.
Just a new Apple Note. Then it would be in my inbox. And I know I'm not going to lose it as the conversation continues. That'd be the first thing I do. Then when I'm cleaning out my inbox, which may or may not be during a weekly review, at that point, I would probably put it in Someday Maybe under things to read folder in my Someday Maybe.
Things to read.
I have a content folder in Someday Maybe, and it's like videos to watch, things to read, books, podcasts, whatever. And I would just file it under there, things to read. And the place where I use that file all the time is like before I go on a plane, I'll just download a bunch of the things that I had on things to read. Or, you can have your assistant email you things and they automatically go to your Kindle. I do that.
John, are you literally dragging the note and just dropping it in there? So like for future reference, or are you seeing like, oh, let me organize and put it under the same Apple Notes? Or it's like, no, it's just all different tiles in Apple Notes. Does that make sense?
For me, I basically, the level of granularity, like at what level you like file and organize is up to you. You could, for example, have just a folder that's called content to consume. And you could have a mix of YouTube videos, podcasts, and articles in there. For me, because of the different formats, I find myself wanting to consume it at different times. So I split it into things to listen to, things to watch, things to read, because when I'm out walking, I'm not going to read something, but I will listen to something. So that was just the level of granularity. So I would just drag a thing to read under the things to read, which is under content, essentially.
Okay, understood. So weekly reviews, when you're taking a look at that, putting in there in the future, it's in there.
Just one thing to clarify. I am clearing out my inbox way more frequently than weekly.
That was going to be a big question of mine, of like
way more frequently than weekly.
How often are you processing?
It depends. So, God willing, I'm going to have twins in a couple weeks.
Are you?
Yeah, you didn't. My wife's like 8 months pregnant.
I had no idea.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah.
Dude, you have a 2-year-old now, right?
Yeah.
Man, congratulations.
The bags are packed, baby.
Yeah,
and we're having a little boy and a little boy and a little girl. So
you're sad.
Super excited.
That's awesome.
So the day that the twins are born, I suspect that I will not clean out my inboxes for 2 weeks.
And by inboxes, you mean your email as well as your notes,
as well as my Apple, because things are still going to pop in my head when I'm up at night, changing a diaper or whatever. But I'm not going to be sitting at my desk or sitting in an environment where I can process them. But Twitter DMs will still come in, Slack messages will still come in, and I'm just not going to process them. Now, when I process them, there'll be 50 fucking things in there, right? When you go offline in Rwanda because you're doing yak archery or whatever, that's Mongolia, not Rwanda. But when you're out doing yak archery, you're not going to process your inbox. But when you get a WeWork pass in Kenya and you've got a full day or 3 days, I'm going to have my inbox literally up. And I'm probably going to clean it out every 5 minutes. Because I'm in a place where it draws down very, very quickly, because I'm like as soon as we get off this podcast before my next meeting, I'll just clean my inbox out.
Got it. The inbox means your notes or your emails.
I have a list of inboxes I check because I don't want to lose track of one, because I was realizing I'm like, fuck, I'm afraid I'm going to miss an inbox. So it's like, what do I do when I clean out my inboxes? Apple Notes, Twitter DMs, save for later Slack, email accounts. There's a couple Kanban boards where I might get tagged and stuff, and physical mail. And just when I'm cleaning out my inboxes, I'll just look at them to make sure that I've checked all of them, because I don't want to store all my inboxes in my brain.
Dude, so good. Okay, so how often on a regular basis, assuming you don't have your twins yet, are you cleaning out your inbox?
Depends on what I'm doing, but for me, I will be in my inbox today because I'm sitting in, I'll work 8 hours today or whatever. I will probably clean out my inbox 5 times today, maybe more.
And that's all let's say the 5 main ones you mentioned, Slack, whatever, Twitter, whatever. You're cleaning those out. Okay, that means processing, storing it.
Do it, defer it, delete it, delegate it.
Okay, cool. Understood that.
But again, the point is that you don't have to do that. If I was surfing today, I wouldn't even look at my inboxes today.
Sure.
The idea is that things can accumulate because I know it's in a trusted system. I don't have to remember that shit. Make sense?
So here's another example. An example of a stored task that was in my head last week. I was like, oh crap, I got to book a flight, but I got to do it in a couple months. I don't really need to do it right now. Where do I store that? Like, I got to do this at some point. It's not super urgent, but I got to book this flight.
Given that it's it does have some time associated with that. What I would do is I would create an entry in my calendar for when you do want to book the flight in 3 weeks. So let's say you need the flights on March 1st is when you want to book it, and because the flight's on March 15th or something. I would put
Yeah.
a calendar entry on March 1st that says book flight, because that
Okay,
is
'cause it
tied to a
has to be done
specific
on
time,
that
because it
day.
has to be done on that day.
What if it's not? What if it's like, I got to book a flight, for sometime in March 17th for my mom? Like, I got to
No,
do that
because there's still a
sometime soon. It's an
timeline. If
errand.
there's a hard deadline associated with it, with a flight, that probably belongs on your calendar. The time when you wouldn't put it on your calendar is like, I want to book a flight at some point in the next 5 years because I want to go to Fiji. And it's
Oh, I
not
see.
like there's no, that's a clear someday maybe. You don't want to put that on your calendar because on March 1st, you're going to be like, oh, I'm still not ready. But for your mom's flight or your flight, you're like, I got to book this on March 1st because she's traveling next month.
But what if it's like, I got to book it sometime soon because she needs to travel on March 17th, something like that. So it's not exactly like I got to book it exactly on January 29th or nothing. Does that still go on my calendar, or is that just like in the
It could just
errands
be a
list?
next action. It could just be, you
Okay.
need to do it at some point. So you put it on your next actions list, and it's that also could end up on a next actions list because you're like, dude, I need to do this. But
Mm,
it's now, if you want to be paranoid, which in some instances I am, I might also put on my calendar on March 1st, double check that I've booked the flight. Cause maybe
okay,
it gets kind of
understood.
like dropped on your next, I just go numb to it a little bit because I got other things going on. But on March 1st, I'm like, check to make sure that the flight got booked because this is like my drop dead date. Might
Gotcha.
do that too. But now, to be clear though, the whole idea of that is I never again am going to think about booking that flight for my mom until I'm putting my credit card in. That's trusted system. You're not
Yeah,
walking around being like, I sure hope I'm going to remember to do that. You're like, no, dude, it's in my calendar.
I would do it. Yeah. Let's talk about the next action list. So let's say I drop this into the next action list. I have other next actions from the projects. The truth is, not all actions are made equal. Some are more important than others. But now all of a sudden, I have this list of errands, things to book, and like all of it's on the random next actions list in my Apple Notes. How do you work your next actions list by priority?
You want to sort your next actions list by context. It's usually not priority.
What does context mean?
Context means, for example, I have a phone calls to make list. I have a memos to write. I have an errands next actions list. I have an agendas, right? Peter Lohman, I think, just has home and office.
Oh, so under next actions, your folder in Apple Notes, you have categories of next actions.
Because sometimes I'm like, I'm out on a walk and I don't want to see a next action that I can't do when I'm on a walk. I know that I can go to my phone
Mm.
calls to make list and pull that up. I'm like, fuck, I owe Neil a phone call.
So what are your next actions? So that's like in Apple Notes, if I'm looking at it, there's multiple notes you could have. I have one called next actions, but the truth
Yep.
is you probably have, can you tell me your categories again?
Yeah,
of what
so
those
I
are?
I can tell you what my next actions are right here.
Okay.
I've got a set of computer next actions. There's just ones that I do at a computer. I've got one which are videos to record, just because I typically have a bunch that just like, okay, I've set up the fucking camera and I'm just going to rip through all the videos I need to record about whatever. I've got memos to write, which are kind of like my deeper thinking, management, leadership. And again, I have to be in a certain head place for that,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Then I've got next action personal, which is I've got renew
Book a
a
flight,
car
whatever it
lease,
is. Yeah.
follow up with our night nurse, whatever. I've got emails to write, like next action emails to write because I need to sit and write emails. And then the last
it.
section that I have is a conversation tracker, which for me is next actions for specific people. So Kayvon, my co-founder, Renee, our CFO, Neil, Peter Lohman, whatever. Because when I have an inbox and I'm like, hey, we should really have a loyalty program. I process, it goes into my inbox. I look at it. I'm like, I need to talk about this with Kayvon. Great. Goes into
Okay.
my next actions list under the Kayvon section. And when I talk to Kayvon, which I do 15 times a day, I look at that list. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I want to talk to you. We should have a loyalty program.
So, okay. It's interesting that's under your next actions. I created one of like, I have a team member, Jenny. I've always things like, I got to talk to Jenny about that. I created a to discuss with Jenny, put it under references. I guess it doesn't really matter what the next action is as long as you know it.
It's
Okay,
the
cool.
same thing. The idea is that when you get it into your inbox, you put it in a place so that when you talk to Jenny, you're not like looking in 78 places for what you want to talk to her about.
So for you, John, when you open, like, 8 a.m. you open up the computer, you have next actions, you have multiple categories of next actions. How are you deciding what to work on? Is it just, I'm in front of my computer right now, therefore I'm going to go to the next actions for computer? That's how you do it?
Yeah, I mean, there's of course prioritization, right? And that there is sections of GTD, frankly, that I don't really do that well.
Okay.
He has a whole structure because I don't really like the way that he talks about it, which is he talks about like a 10,000 foot view, a 5,000 foot view, a 1,000 foot view, and then like a
Mm,
ground view. And the ground view is your next actions. The 1,000 foot view is your weekly review. The 5,000 foot view is like your quarterly goals, and your 10,000 foot view is like this life planning exercise. And they're all
mm,
kind of like cascaded all the way down into your next actions. I think that's pretty much how he talks about it. That's not really what I do. I mean, we could have a separate conversation about, what I think business owners should spend their time on. And for me, it's um, the prioritization is driven by constraints. So, what is the constraint on made this? And when I look at what I should do first, it's work on the constraint. Pretty much that's the
okay.
question I ask myself. When I look at my list, if I have 5 things that could all be done right now that I'm all willing to do right now, I usually prioritize it based on the constraint.
Okay. So you still have, there's some thinking involved. It's not just like, cool, I'm just going to go from top to the bottom. You're actually sorting it
Correct.
when you're on the next actions list. Cool.
Correct. And honestly, but a lot of times what I'll do is it won't make it to my next actions list. I've already, if it's not against the constraint, it goes into my someday maybe.
So here's the question with someday maybe a reference. How often are you looking into that and clearing that out? Or the reference list where you're like, do I really need this? I stored this in here. Like, I just feel like, I don't know what to do with this. Someday maybe. I don't know what to do with this
That's
reference. I
better.
mean,
No, but that's better. It's better you go that way than the other way, which is keep too much kind of on your plate. So
okay.
for me, my reference I probably clean out maybe once a month. I mean, it doesn't cost anything
Okay.
to keep something in reference, right? Like,
No, it
dude,
doesn't.
it's just like
But you
another
don't want to
file.
like, you don't want to lose it, especially work someday. You're like,
Well, no,
like,
no, that's
I
no,
feel
no,
like
I'm gonna
it's
give you a different answer.
yeah.
I'm giving you a different
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
File, which is my reference files, I look at maybe once a month and I just look at all my folders and I'm like, here's one, you know, car insurance. And I click that and I'm like, yep,
Mm,
still need that. Right. And I can look at them, right? I've got one, my wife makes up words. And I have a list in my file of funny words that she's made up just because I don't want to like quanticize. I just don't want to forget
yeah.
them because it's fucking funny. Right.
Yep.
That's just gonna be in my file till the end of time. But there's others where I'm like, oh, okay, I don't need that. Right. So I would
Gotcha.
I would purge those about once a month. Someday maybe I'm looking at every week during my weekly review.
Interesting. And just to say, even though you have your next actions list baked up, even though you have your projects list baked up, even though you're still looking at your Sunday maybe and saying, is this a priority? Is that what you're looking
Yeah,
at?
because when I look at because the thing that most people in knowledge work don't do very well is work about work. They're so
Okay.
used to just doing work as it
Doing
comes
it.
in. I got
Yep.
pinged on Slack. I got pinged on Twitter. And what do? They just start at the top and they think they had a good day. And then they wake up 6 months later, they haven't pushed the ball forward, right?
Right.
Because all they've been doing is just like farting around on the edges. So, what the
Mm,
weekly review is a lot of times is a reprioritization and a reshuffling based on opportunistic opportunities, based on what you see as the constraint, based on a new email you just got from Neighborly that says we want to acquire you or whatever.
yep.
During that
Right.
weekly review, you're like, dude, last week this was my next actions list. This week,
Yeah.
it's all moving to someday maybe because I need to get this Neighborly presentation ready to go.
Mm,
Right.
yep.
So the weekly review serves as that kind of pulling out of the tactical review to say, am I even working on the right things?
Mm. Okay. It's a looking at everything that's on your
It's
list
a
and saying,
work
oh
about
shit,
work.
I should probably.
Did
Yep.
my wife just yell at me and say, honey, we never go on dates anymore? That's going to shuffle out in the weekly review where I'm like, dude, I have too much shit on my list right now.
Mm,
So the weekly review is that split step from the day-to-day chaos of kind of work as it comes in and pre-established work. And you split step and you like zoom out and you're like, dude, do I even like being in this business I mean, a lot of that'll shake out in a weekly review if you're doing it right.
So I think this is the area where, for me, like when it came to work someday or reference files or whatever, it felt like a pit where I throw something in there, I'm never going to see it again. I'm never going to process this. Like, so it almost felt like, I don't know what's going on here. But I think the key is, as long as you know you're going to do it in your weekly review and at least look at it and say, this is still a someday maybe, that's fine. But right now it's like a black hole. So I
But
think
file,
it's
but to be
getting more-
clear, file, you want to be a black hole. Meaning this is a, renewal notice for one of our cars.
Yeah,
I'm going to take
got
a
the same.
picture of this. I want this to go in a black hole until I go looking for it. I don't ever want to
Correct.
think about this paper ever again. So you want a black hole. You don't want to delete
but not
it.
with the work, not the someday maybe list.
Correct.
Like,
Someday maybe it's different.
correct. Reference file.
Someday-
Agree.
And when you look at your someday maybe, like I've probably had like hire a Spanish tutor on my someday maybe list for fucking 5 years because I used to live in Argentina. I love speaking Spanish. And I'm just like, I have not deleted it, but that fucker has been on my list because I'm just like, dude, I could just like put my head down and get back to like conversationally fluent in like 90 days.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I just haven't done it.
And this might sound silly, but on your someday maybe list, are you just dropping the notes in there, or are you like actually organizing it and putting everything in the singular notes? Just curious how you
Let's
structure it.
just look. Yeah, my someday maybe. So, I mean, I can share my thing here. In this particular case, and again, this is all just personal style stuff. But if I share my screen here, this is what my someday maybe list looks like. It's a bunch of notes. Like it's just a bunch of notes that it got dragged into here, right? So,
Yeah. Okay.
like
Perfect.
make a certification
just
for
show
what
there.
we do with a link because it says like, because I was like, oh, I want to like certify global talent.
Hmm.
Like, okay, you're certified in Notion or whatever, right? And then like here, let's see if there's any in here.
God, it's just a random one.
Okay. Then this one, how do I get customers and prospects in the same room?
Hmm.
Right? This was on November 9th, 2024. Someday maybe I'm not ready to action that right now, but I look at it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Versus my files, I'm not going to show, I don't want to show that because there's definitely sensitive stuff in there. But here, let's see if I can find a section of this. But that I have a little bit more filed alphabetically where it's just like, I've got my wedding vows. I've got virtual mail. I've got Twitter ideas. I've got my TSA pre-check number, my Tesla purchase agreement.
This is under
taxes.
reference files. Okay.
Those are files.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the difference. And those are a little bit
John,
more.
I noticed in your setup here, you don't have project reference files unless is that
not
just
there.
your end state?
No,
You don't.
project reference file. That's what I just showed you was my files. My
Right.
project reference files are in a different place. They're under
Okay, so you do have that.
project reference
Okay.
files. Yeah. Because those are
Okay,
active
gotcha.
projects. Yeah. So when I'm done with that project, what do I do with the project reference file? It just goes into my reference file. Because I might
Yep.
not want to lose that work, but like in a year, I might decide to just delete it. But for right now, like Garage Excel, right? My old company.
Yeah.
Used to have 15 different active project reference files. So redo the website and new lead gen channels. And then when we sold it, all of that stuff got moved to the file. I will probably within the next few months just delete all that because I'm like, I'm totally out of that business. But for right now, it's just sitting in my reference in my files.
Well, it could be in there forever, really. Okay.
Right. Like there's no marginal cost to having an extra file.
Yep. John, let's talk about email. So this is where I had questions for how to process it. So a lot of the emails, what I was doing, if I wouldn't be able to answer in a couple of minutes, I'd get the URL and drop it into my next actions. What ended up happening is I had a bunch of next actions and
No, you fucked up. Yep, you fucked up.
Okay.
Yep. I can tell what you just did. You fucked up.
So let's talk about this. Like, I'll give you examples of emails, and like you tell me how you process it. I got an email saying, "Hey, we're gonna get like a Maryland franchisee, right? So I got to get a notary
congrats.
signed." Thanks, F. So I need to get a notary for Maryland because whatever franchise laws, how that goes. I got to notarize.com and stuff, and like there's a couple steps in it. I just got to get it done. How do I remember to get this done?
There are two different ways you can use your email inbox. I do something different, just for me. But I don't want this to fuck you up. And you combined my peculiarity with what you're supposed to do. Okay.
Okay.
The right way to do your email inbox is it's actually an inbox and you do it, defer it, delete it, delegate it. So you look at it as a inbox, right?
Okay.
So you don't just take the URL and put it on your next actions list. You haven't processed it. You have to process it like it's an inbox.
So let's pretend I do that. I process it. I'm like, I can't defer it, or I can't delegate
So
it.
you look at that
I can't
email.
do it now because it takes more than 2 minutes.
So to your example, you would look at that email and you would say, what's the physical next action to push this forward?
I have to get it. I have to go to notarize.com and get this notary done.
Good.
gonna
So
take
what you'd put
10
on your
minutes.
next action list is go
Okay.
to notarize.com and get apostille certification or whatever the fuck it is.
Okay.
And you put that on your next actions list, not the URL. Because the URL is an unprocessed.
I still have to think about it. Yeah.
Correct. It's partially chewed food. You want to get a little bit more digestion.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And
Now,
John,
Now my peculiarity is I don't like to process out of my inbox. I don't know why. It's just a peculiarity. So what I do is I take the URL of emails that I need to process. I create Apple Notes, but they go into my inbox, not onto my next actions list.
You put in the notes file.
Because I just like processing, like Apple Notes, same thing with Twitter. Like, I don't like processing out of Twitter. I like processing out of Apple Notes inbox. So all of my inboxes, I have like a meta inbox, which is my Apple Notes files.
Oh, wow.
Because
so you're literally copy pasting, like just starting it there and you're going to process it from Apple Notes.
But it doesn't go straight to my next actions because it needs more processing.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then just to take it one step further, let's say the notary thing. For me, it's important because I'm like, I got to prioritize this to get this moving, right?
Yep.
But I have a bunch of other stuff on my list. Once I put in the notes, get the notary done, and I could even link to the email if I have to reply to the lawyer, whatever. How do I note in my next actions, like, hey, dude, this is the priority. Like, get this shit done. Like, how would you note that?
You tell me. I mean, you could put it at the top and constantly be shuffling your next actions. You could maybe have a context list that's priority next actions and review that more kind of frequently than you review your other next actions. I would say it's personal style. You could have a context-based list, which is like priority next actions. I got no problem with that.
Okay. So
yeah,
for me,
I don't do that. I don't do that because I have enough. I don't have so much on my list that I can't, like, I typically have 5 to 10 or less things on any one specific next actions list.
Okay. Got it. So another example would be, we got a new remote team member and I need to set up payment in Wise for him. And I'm the one to do it because I have to make an account, whatever.
For you? Say yes, even if it's not true.
You know what? I actually think Sagan got them for me.
Hey,
actually,
great.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, there we go.
Thanks, Sagan number. Great.
Thanks, man.
So happy we can help you.
Easy.
What a great testimonial.
Yeah.
Neil,
Wow.
Thanks.
There you go.
Okay.
Screenshot.
So go on.
So I got to set up. By the way, I actually do think this one came through Sagan. So no joke. I actually do think this one did. If I'm thinking about it,
don't care if it's true or not.
Places, but
don't care if it's true or not. Just say it.
So I got to set up a payment in Wise for this guy, and so this is something to do. Like, it's time bound. It's not super high priority, but like just got to get it done. Am I going to next actions and saying send team member payment?
Yeah. What's the next physical? For me, what I would do, you capture it, right? Goes into an inbox. During a review of my inbox, when I'm processing my inbox, I pick it up and I'm like, do it, defer it, delete it, delegate it. And I go, add Bob Smith to Wise account. That would, for me, go onto my next actions list computer. And I would write, add Bob to Wise account. And in parentheses, I would probably put a link to the email that has his wire instructions or whatever his email
Go
address.
To the step before that. You're adding this to a project list. If there's just 2 steps to it, you're adding it to a project list?
No, it depends on how complex it was. This seems simple. It'd probably go on next step.
Okay. Gotcha. Because I'm like, damn, dude, that's like multiple places to categorize this.
No, for me, it would probably be it would end up on my next actions list under computer, which is my context specific next actions list. And it would write, add Bob Smith. And then if it's really simple, I might even just put his email address, because I think Wise, all you need is, because he adds his own bank account details.
Yeah.
Right. I might even just put his email address right on my next actions list. So just right there in one line, it says, add Bob Smith to Wise, $1,100 a month, bobsmith@gmail.com, under my computer next actions list. And everything I need to execute that when I'm sitting on my computer is right fucking there.
Now, what if it's actions? Like, I'm looking at some email inboxes I want to ask you about. Things which, like, it doesn't need its own project, but it's multiple steps, right? Like, for example, I need to give my SEO vendor a list of the keywords to go after for a franchise website. So the couple steps, I need to research it. Then I need to write the email to her, think about it a little bit more. It takes more than a couple minutes, but I got to do it. Is it super high priority and urgent? Maybe not, but it would be useful. If I left it on my next actions list, it's going to sit there because I now have send someone a payment. There's so much crap there, right? So how does it not get lost in the next actions list? How would you handle this?
Well, first of all, if it is multiple next actions to completion, it is a project. it's like how many legs does a dog have if you call the tail a leg? 4. Doesn't matter what you fucking think, Neil. Like, meaning, oh, well, it's not really a project. Yeah, it is. Like, you can't just say it's not. A project is an objective
multiple
term.
step.
Yeah, it's just a multiple. So, it's not really a project. Yeah, it is. Right. So that's the first thing I'd say.
Okay. So with a situation like this, let's talk about creating a project then. So like me creating a folder of like project folder, it seems overkill for something like a 2 or 3 step project, which is not like, how would you handle this?
You don't have to have a project reference folder for every project.
Okay.
You only if you need it. But for me, what I would do is it would go on my projects list, or which I call my end states list, because I like thinking about end states. It's clear. I say, what's the end state? Send list of target keywords to SEO vendor. That's my end state, right? That goes on my project list. And that has multiple steps underneath it. Then I look at that and I'm like, what's the physical next action to push this project forward? Go to SEMrush and Polar Analytics. That goes on my next actions list.
When are you making this project? Email comes in. Is it just whenever you're processing? You're like, let me quickly make a project out of this.
When I'm processing my
inbox. You're
processing
through your inbox, hopefully daily, but things come up, maybe not daily, but you're always organizing, constantly organizing within Apple Notes. Okay. And your projects list, I think you showed me last time, but in terms of organization, there's big boy projects like this is high priority. Then this random stuff like this comes up, which is like, it's 3 or 4 steps. It's not super high priority, but it requires a project because something with 4 dogs and a tail or something like that. You need a project on it.
What happened? I blacked out.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I hired from Take It, everyone. Yes. So what does your project list look like? Is it just a flurry of like, here's everything, like here's an email which requires 3 steps?
Yeah, not a flurry. It's just like the 5 to 25 things at any one time that I'm end states that I'm trying to achieve. That's it. Like, it's not fancy. And each one has one, basically 1 sentence or less of a description of the end state. So I don't lose track of it.
And when are you processing that? So you're processing your notes, your inboxes as much as you can. And then when are you looking at your projects?
The biggest time, because my project folder, my project list tends to degrade over the course of a week. The biggest time where I'm updating that and keeping it lively is, guess.
The biggest time where you're keeping it alive is just when you're in front of a computer, downtime?
No. When is a time when I think about work holistically? I'll give you a clue. I do it every week.
Your weekly review. But that's not like, what if projects need to be done? I got on Monday and it needs to be done by or I'd like to get back to them by Tuesday or Thursday. Then do I wait a whole week before processing that project?
No, it comes in. Is there a timeline associated with it or not? Or is it an aspirational timeline?
Aspirational timeline.
Then you look at it, and as you're defining your work for that day, you make decisions about what you're going to work on today and what you don't want to work on today. Like, it either has a deadline or, I want to get everything done tomorrow. But unfortunately, that's not how life works. So it either has to be done by Tuesday or not. If you're like, I need to get this to them by Tuesday because it's going to cost me $1,000 if I don't, well, belongs on a calendar. But if it's just like, I want to get back to them as soon as possible, it's like, yeah, bro, I also want to sell 100 units as fast as possible. I also want to move to, dude, it's all as fast as possible, but that's not how work works.
Gotcha. So sometimes you're like delayed in answering people just because you're like, it takes me more than 2 minutes to answer you, so I'm not just going to process it. My assistant can't because it's bank account related. Correct. I'll get back to you on my Sunday review, and you're just waiting till then.
I'll give you a great example of that. We use a lot of Kanban boards and Slack channels as kind of our intra-team organization at Sagan. And they kind of degrade over the course of the week. And the team now knows on Sundays, which is usually when I do my weekly review, they're just going to get this flurry of comments from me.
Answers.
Because I'm just kind of doing it all in one go and just saying like, hey man, I didn't see the website get launched yet, but here's a new thing, whatever. And then it's off my mind while it bubbles along. So it's just kind of like a book. Think of it as a bookmark to make sure that I don't lose my page. That doesn't mean that I'm like fucking squeezing it tightly every moment of every day. My systems are not in perfect state every minute of every day, but it's just enough to keep it off my brain.
I actually really like what you said, and also gives me a little bit more comfort because I've noticed Sunday when I do my weekly review, then Monday is the highest productive day. Everything's caught up. but it just degrades. And I've kind of felt bad, like, shit, it's degrading. It's not working. I'm waiting too long to get back to these people versus before I would answer them quickly. But it's normal, is what you're telling me. That's how
Yeah.
this goes. It degrades over the course of a week.
Dude, your email inbox and your inboxes, generally speaking, are your work as it comes in. But as business
Right.
owners, we need to be doing lots of predefined work, existing work, not work as it comes in.
Yep.
And meta work, work about work. Am I working on the right things?
Okay.
Right? So most business owners live because when you're small, you only do work as it comes in. Hey, the crew
Right.
called out. Great, got to deal with this. Hey, the customer's angry. Got to do this. Hey, the work as it comes in, work as it comes in, work as it comes in. As your organization grows, the percentage of work as it comes in should essentially go to zero, other than like being sued and your ops manager quitting. Other than that, dude, I'm on my own cadence because I know that as noisy as all this stuff is, I need to get our SEO game solved. And so part of the magic here is that you're not dragged around by the nose of your inboxes anymore once you hit a certain level of size or kind of operational maturity.
And it's kind of what you said before. Like, a lot of people are really proud of using Superhuman to process the emails fast. You're like, dude, I'd rather not process it. And whoever is waiting for my answer, as long as it's not urgent, they will wait until Sunday. But like, I'm okay with that. Like, that's kind of your philosophy with this.
Yeah. I mean, the first question is, why are you getting so many emails?
Right.
Why are you getting so many emails? Like, it's 10x is easier than 2x. Right. And so the answer is not to answer more emails faster. It's to say, hey, any customer refunds up to $250, ops manager, based on your judgment, you can just issue. You do not need to email me.
Gotcha.
And now magically, I just reduced 500 emails a year you get. Hey, put the KPIs in a spreadsheet and send it to me once a week. Do not just forward me every KPI every time it comes in. I want a consolidated view. I just saved you 5 emails a week, right? Like
you kind of whittle it down.
Yeah.
With certain rules,
It's
delegations,
not,
things like
how
that.
do I use keyboard shortcuts to, do the fucking finance thing? Thanks. Hey, all lowercase, bullshit pisses everybody off, email communication.
Last question here, John. How often are you checking your email as an inbox to then push it to your Apple Notes? Because I think a lot of people, the reason I ask this, I think a lot of people default to like, oh, I don't know what to do, open to my email. And I just open up right now, just check 17 things waiting in there, right? Some of them process, delegate, delete, whatever. But like, that would be my natural flow. If I don't know what to do, I'm just going to my inbox, which I don't think is the right way of doing things.
It's not. There's a discipline, generally speaking. So your instincts are correct, which is there is a discipline to not being led around by your email, right? So right now, you need to say, look, it depends on your operational maturity. If you're running a 2-man shop, you can't afford to renew your email, or not review your email expeditiously, right? However, given your operational maturity, I suspect that there are other more important projects you need to work on right now than the 17 new emails. So look at what should I do? You go to your projects list and your next actions list, not your inboxes.
Okay.
That is the cycle. So then when I get off this call, I'm not going to open up my email. I'm going to open up my next actions list and say, what's the shit I need to push the ball forward on that I defined at the beginning of this week? And I'll get to my email when I can, but I need to get that SEO proposal out and I need to register in Delaware.
I get it. And John, how often are you looking at the last thing here? And I always say it's the last question. But anyways, waiting for a list. An example, I send the email out to someone.
Weekly review.
Okay.
The weekly, that's why when we started this conversation, I was like, most people don't do the weekly review, and it is critical because that's how when you put stuff into Someday Maybe or you're waiting for a list, you have trust that you're going to revisit it because you're probably not going to revisit it Tuesday at 11 a.m. But you know that during my weekly review, I look at last week's calendar, next week's calendar, waiting for lists, Someday Maybes. Once a month, I kind of look at my files to make sure there's nothing I want to get rid of or elevate, and I kind of catch everything up. But I have trust that Someday Maybe is not a black hole.
Okay.
I have trust that waiting for is going to be reviewed at least weekly. If it needs to be more than that, you put it in your calendar or you do something else with it. But at the very least, your waiting for list is not going to need to be stored in your brain.
Got it. And is your waiting for a list in Apple Notes or is that elsewhere?
My waiting for list is in Apple Notes. It's just in a note. It's actually below my next actions list. in the same note.
Okay.
Just because I don't know, I put it there, but that's a personal preference thing.
John, this might sound silly, but like, for example, I sent somebody an email and I'm waiting. I just remember like, oh, I didn't get a reply from them. I'm not going to add every single email I send to a waiting for it list, right? Like, how do you do it then?
Here's the rule. If you're going to think about it, put it on the waiting for list. If you're not going to think about it, don't.
Easy. Okay. Simple
If
enough.
it's right,
Yeah.
like if you're going to be like, shit, write it down and stop waking up overnight going shit.
Yeah.
If
And
you're
at minimum,
not going
you
to
look at it once a week. Yeah.
Correct. If you're not going to think about it because it's just a nicky knack bullshit thing, then don't add it to your waiting for list. That's the rule. Remember, you don't have to ever have a thought more than once unless you like having that thought.
I like that phrase. Cool,
It's
man.
David Allen, baby.
I think
Go read the book.
Yeah. I'm just gonna wait for the Sagan course. I feel like that's a better way of doing it.
Do you like that? Do you think that's a good idea?
Dude, I love it. I absolutely love it. This is for training for remote team members or
Both.
training for
Both.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I want you to think, because the thing is we're trying to come up with kind of like a continued education offering that you're not going to develop internally, but that is super high impact. And so Neil is just like, dude, what, like one of the reasons why I'm going to be a member at Sagan forever, we're looking at for you to know essentially in perpetuity that you don't need to train your team on organization because you know that every 12 weeks, a new running of organization. And so you're just like, dude, to have this kind of training curriculum academy as an added benefit to Sagan membership is worth it. You know, you don't ever need to do that internally. Whereas how to do customer service, you're going to build that internally. But something like organization is something you want, but you would never develop internally.
The two things, John, which would be a no-brainer where it's like, okay, this is worth the cost of membership alone, is the two things I think you are extremely good at, which is productivity and AI.
So the three learning tracks are going to be productivity and organization, AI and automation, and leadership and management. Those are going to be our three.
That's it. That's pretty much it. Yep.
And so just knowing, you can send the most junior person or your ops manager to know and go get some basics covered around how to run a good one-on-one.
Or how to talk to your manager, how to communicate, things like that.
Or how to use more than just like a one-sentence prompt in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
John,
fuck, dude. Yeah.
Do you do EOS or like how do you meet with your team? You don't meet with them. Do you meet with them?
I
do you
meet
have like
with them, but I don't do
one-on-ones?
EOS.
Okay. You do just one-on-ones? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Cool, man. All right. Well, we'll do another part 4 or whatever it is, but good stuff.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks,
All
dude.
right, brother. Thanks for joining us on Lazy Leverage. Talk soon.